I'm David Jones. This is Karla Highman, and we're here today to have Karla tell us a little bit about her organization and what its mission is.
Thank you, David. Yes, I started Walking Wise, and our mission is to equip adults to hold candid conversations with young people about sexual exploitation. And so we have spent the past 4 years developing curriculum and materials for adults that align with the curriculum for youth.
That sounds like quite an undertaking. So what led you to go ahead and try to start your own company to do this?
It was an accident, to be honest. I was a period of my life where I could kind of just make my own choices of what I wanted to do in the future. So I was searching for something to do, and I stumbled upon explainer style animation. And that's a tool that's used by businesses worldwide to train employees. And so it's animated figures. And I thought, what a great way to teach kids about the grooming process. And in my mind, I thought, if we can teach kids the tricks that are played to groom them, we could help them avoid situations that entrap them in sexual abuse, sex trafficking. And so I started there with just developing 1 3-minute animated video about the grooming process.
And so how much content do you have right now?
I couldn't stop telling the story. So once I got done with grooming, I had read so much about the impact of homeless children and those children who have run away from home or either they've run away from something or they're running towards something, but it left them homeless. And I felt like I needed to tell kids about why it's important not to find yourself in a vulnerable position of running away. I did that, and then that made me flow into pornography. I wanted them to understand the link of pornography and how that changes their brains and creates vulnerabilities that also cause them to be exploited. So eventually I ended up with 12 animated videos and 12 lesson plans, 12 learning modules for adults on these various topics.
So which kind of organizations do you see using your materials?
We're really pushing off right now, launching. These materials can be used by so many different types of people. For example, the Academy of Forensic Nursing, they were the ones that got me initiated into developing learning modules for adults. So I have a 12-hour course. There's actually 12 courses, and it's been accredited by the Academy of Forensic Nursing as well as the Postgraduate Institute for Medicine. So these are tools that teach adults, and then youth organizations, churches, boys and girls type clubs can use these materials to teach kids. They can take the adult training, and then they can use the education, the videos and the lesson plans to teach the kids that are under their care. Schools, I would really love to see the schools adopting these materials. We've piloted it in 2 career centers in Central Ohio early on, and then much development went into it from what we learned during those pilots. And then this past spring, we piloted in middle school in Washington State. A school resource officer was in charge of that pilot, and it went very well. And so this is really a program that's meant for schools and youth organizations, anyone dealing with kids that are teenagers, 11 years or older.
Do you have a program just asked for parents and stuff who may want to use it just as a one-off for their particular situation?
Most definitely. We have set this up so that parents can have access to our education guide, which has teaching tips for home, as well as the 12 lesson plans, and then they have access to the animated videos. And that has also been piloted as well for home use. I had one parent tell me that after sharing the trustworthy versus unsafe adult video, that 1 year later, his daughter came to him and said, I have an unsafe adult in my life. And she actually used the words from the animated video. And it was like, oh my goodness, it was just that one child who prevented themselves from being vulnerable by sharing with their parent. We did our job.
Well, what led you to, was the impetus to go down this path, to develop this curriculum for this problem?
It's something that happened in 2010 that drew my attention to what it felt like to be vulnerable and to be preyed upon and the behaviors of a predator. And that was when I was invited to go on vacation with a friend and her daughter. And we were traveling. We were on an underground subway, and the girl started getting panicked because a man was taking her picture. And back in those days, the movie Taken had just come out the year before. And I thought, she's seen one too many movies. I'm sure that she's imagining things. And then we get off that train and we're waiting for another train, and she started just becoming panicked. And he's still photographing me. And I was like, all right, when we get off the next train, we are gonna run like crazy out of these tunnels and we'll see if he follows. And so we did that. I'm thinking in my head, this is gonna be nothing. So we ran out and to a crowded street. We made our way into this outdoor pub and crouched down. And next thing you know, here comes this man running as fast as he could. And then he stopped and he scanned the crowd. And I'll never forget that feeling. And I was like, oh my gosh, he really is after us. And boom, he saw us. And we were in his line of vision, and he was smirk about it. And we were terrified. We didn't want to go back to the apartment we were staying in. We didn't want him to follow us. We didn't know the language. We didn't know if we should ask for help. We were like, is this still in our heads? And it was about a 30-minute ordeal when I realized my little flip phone had a camera on it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna march out there and take this man's picture. And so I went out there as boldly as I could and took his picture, and it was a game changer. But I'd never felt preyed upon before. And I thought, if we hadn't been with her, and she was by herself, or if she was with somebody younger, what would have happened? What would have happened? And boy, that happened many years earlier before I started this program, but it always stuck with me. And I started volunteering for a nonprofit that provided housing for girls who had been in a trafficking situation. And so one thing fell into another.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, I know that one of the organizations my Rotary Club helps out with is Star House. I don't know whether you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
Have you done the program there?
No, we really are just getting started, and so I hope to speak to
Because they seem like the ideal population you should try to reach.
Yeah, there are so many. I appreciate the opportunity to share this because we are on the front end of getting out there to everyone.
So is there any other organizations that really are doing what you're doing, or are you unique?
There are other organizations that are providing education, and it seems like a lot of people are developing education. But what makes what we're doing unique is that we've created education for adults that align with the education for kids. So we have the grooming process adults learn at an adult level, and then we have written it for kids. So the adult trains, and then they're more confident and prepared to now look at the youth curriculum and present it to youth. And also the way we have divided it down into 12 separate topics: extortion, pornography, the rural risks. The last one I've just done was the hidden buyers. And I really initially thought I shouldn't talk to kids about people who buy sex. And so that was not even a topic I considered writing. But when I was developing the course for adults, I did want to talk about it. And I came across 2 studies, and the conclusion of both studies is that we need to educate adolescent males, middle school boys, about sexual exploitation because they're being groomed mostly through pornography to become sex buyers as adults. And so there's research that was done. It was published in 2024. And I talked to the doctor who wrote the research, and just I became confident in thinking, we need to start talking to boys about pornography and how that possibly can escalate into buying sex as an adult.
Do you see all the things that are happening right now with AI and the new tools and things like that out there, how those are factoring into what's going on and how it might change in the near future?
Oh, yeah. Yes. We're certainly on the front end of learning how AI is going to negatively impact the sexual exploitation, how it's going to impact children. And now I've heard some people say if they're using AI, at least fewer people will be harmed in like your children will be used, they'll be not real children. But if you truly understand the escalation process of sexual exploitation, you'll know that no, all of this is scary.
I know now that AI bots are basically pushing out text messages and emails to pretty much everybody who's out there. Every phone number, it gets a number of those every day.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, unless you are trained what to do and how to ignore them, a lot of them are, I can see those being clicked on and starting to interact with the bad actors by children because they have cell phones, they have a number, and they're going to get these things.
Right. I always say walking wise is a young person's first lesson to understanding manipulation, intimidation, and coercion. These were things that I think that we just fall into as we're growing up. We're like, oh, that's what manipulation is. And oh, I see that person intimidated me and that's why I behaved in a certain way. But things have gotten to the point now that we need to officially teach kids these topics of how intimidation can cause you to make choices that or not choose, but make you feel like you've made choices when you haven't. And honestly, just giving a basic understanding, and you can do that just simply by watching these 3-minute animated videos, giving a child a basic understanding gives them life skills, whether you're talking about sexual exploitation or somebody trying to access your checking account.
What age is this oriented towards? What will be the youngest that somebody might use some of your curriculum?
So I recommend that maybe 2 lessons are shared a year with a child. Starting at age 11, you could probably show a 10-year-old trustworthy versus unsafe adult. But my recommendation is at 11 years old, they learn about trustworthy versus an unsafe adult behavior. They learn about the grooming process, and then also maybe the pornography link. The next year, maybe 7th graders are learning about sextortion and male victims. And in 8th grade, they'll learn about runaways as targets and rural risks. And then 9th and 10th grade. 9th grade, I would recommend human traffickers and female recruiters, female and peer recruiters. In 10th grade would then be familial trafficking. Families traffic their children, and that's something most people don't know. It's believed that 40 to 50% of child victims were trafficked by a family member. And then, of course, the hidden buyers is an important lesson for older kids to learn.
Okay, so to wrap it up, is there anything else that you'd like to share about your organization?
We're working to be a sustainable organization, and we have set our program up for longevity. We have not taken the fundraising route for this. We've set this up so it would be a program that people could subscribe to. They pay a small fee for it once a year to gain access, and we would put our energy into keeping the materials updated and consistently updated because sexual exploitation evolves. As soon as the predators know that we're on to their tricks, they come up with a new method, a new routine, a new strategy. So our goal is to always be focused on keeping the materials updated. And our goal also wasn't to lose grants or to lose funders. It's to stay financially sustainable. We're asking that people pay a small annual subscription fee to access our materials.
Very good. So there you have it. Thank you, Karla.
Thank you.
And,
Thanks for giving me this
Thanks for
opportunity.
giving me this time.